I just watched It Follows for the very first time. Let's talk about it. So, It Follows is a horror movie that came out back in 2014, and we know now that we are getting a sequel to this movie. So, I thought this was the best time to watch it, isn't it? Halloween! Why not check out this horror movie to finish off our Halloween special series where we're just watching horror movies constantly all the time? Now, look, the easiest way I can describe, if you guys haven't seen this movie, what this movie is about. Now, you remember that question that you get asked: would you take a certain amount of money, but you would have a snail or, caterpillar or whatever? It chases you constantly, all the time, but it moves at like a snail pace. If it touches you, it kills you instantly, like you die. Would you take that offer, knowing that you'd always look over your shoulder constantly? Well, It Follows has a very similar plot to that actual question. Instead of getting money, this thing just follows you constantly. There is a way to get rid of it, which is what we'll discuss in this. But what I love about this film, I think this film is really good because the tension that they build up is absolutely superb. But it's the involvement that they get you in this movie. Like, so we have Jay as a character who gets this thing, this entity that follows her. What they do so well is they get you so invested that you're not watching her. You're not watching that. You're watching the surroundings. So you feel like you're a part of that group. You are looking constantly over her shoulder for her. Like, where is this thing? Where is it coming? Now, this thing only moves at walking pace. So it's not like it's sprinting or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about that. You know it can't walk through walls. We discover that in this movie as well. It doesn't walk through things, but it is somewhat intelligent. And what I mean by that, obviously it's an entity, but if it can't get through, so it can't just open, locked doors or anything like that. So it's not like that. It's just not like, hey, look, it's a locked door, unlock it, and then, oh, I'm through. No, it will figure out another way to get into the house. So you have that element as well, but you're constantly on edge because you're always looking over the shoulder, like, where is this thing? And they do that really, really well. Now, what I also love as well is the whole idea of this plot, of this thing constantly looking over your shoulder. And it just feels like every scene matters because no matter what, they're never safe. And I love that about this movie. I don't know why. I just do. I love how they're always in danger no matter what because you just don't know where it's going to come from. Is it coming from over there? Is it coming from over here? So you're constantly always having to look around. And I really like that concept. I think that's really, really good. Now, when we talk about the characters, I think Jay is a decent character as well. Some of her friends in that, they're a bit dumb. Like the final act involving a pool, it's a pretty dumb idea. I mean, I don't know what they expected that was going to happen in that. And yeah, some of them make some stupid decisions. But Jay as a character herself, I didn't mind. I was invested in her story and I wanted her to get free of this thing. Now, the way that she got the thing attached to her was a bit unfair. Like, it was really unfair. And, like, that's probably what this movie does well is the way that she gets tricked into getting this entity to follow her. You start to feel bad for her. You're like, well, it's not like she knew this was going to happen or anything like that. So it's like she just got this person lied to her, gave her this thing, and now she doesn't know how. Like, she has the option to get rid of it. She can get rid of it at any time, realistically. But obviously, she just doesn't want that because we find out in this movie about what happens if you pass it on and someone dies from it. Like, what then happens. And it's pretty, like, messed up. Like, it's like, oh. So, like, you're telling me that's what happens? Like, you pass it on and then if that person dies, it just, yeah. And we see that in this movie. That happens. Now, there are some scenes in here as well that are absolutely, like, just freaky. Like, we're talking about, like, on the beach with, like, this, weird looking dude. It's in the thumbnail, so you've seen that picture. That's really creepy. There's one about the dude, this big giant dude as well. It's like, whoa, really, really creepy. And where, dude, one of the kills in this movie, bro, man, what the fudge? Like, that's all I could think in that scene. I was like, that's one way to go out. Like, that's a brutal way to go out. Now, what I do also like about this film is the 80 vibes that they tried to give this film as well. I thought it worked really well with the whole, symphony wave, sort of like retro, electronic music for the soundtrack and the score. I thought that was really clever to, give it that feel, and it did feel like a classic 80s vibe. When I'm watching this, I'm like, this doesn't feel like it's a modern day horror. It feels like it's a mixture with a bit of like the 80s feel to it. So you get that feels of like when that music is playing, you're like, okay, I feel like I'm in like this 80s like horror movie. But then you also have the modern tone to it as well that gives it that little bit of elevation to it, that kind of adds that tension build up to it as well, which I thought was fantastic. And that's what I mean. This does a really good tension build up because you are looking all the time trying to figure out, like, is that person real or is that person not real? And like the characters are always on edge because they don't know where this person's coming. Then like just see an everyday person walking and they're instantly thinking, can everyone else see it? Because you're the only person that can see this entity. No one else that hasn't been attached to it can see it. So you have that element as well. And I think they did that really, really well. They executed that well. And I thought the way it was shot was brilliant as well. I thought the use of the entity and like how it shape shifts to certain things, I thought that was fantastic because it gives you that element of surprise. You don't know what, like, if you knew what this looked like once, like it just looks like that, then you kind of like, okay. So you know when it's coming all the time. But having it shape shift all the time into maybe someone you know, maybe someone you don't know, some random person, just adds in that little bit of extra tension build up and that the stakes and the fear around the characters because you don't know who it is. You don't know what it is. You just know by the walk. And like there are obviously scenes where you see it's clearly the entity because it just doesn't fit the scenario that they're in right now. So for instance, a school, an elderly lady walking in that looks like she's been in hospital. Doesn't fit that scenario at all. So when it's coming, it's like insane. So I really enjoyed this movie. I thought apart from like the stupid decision towards the end there that they were making, I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. I did. And like to see that it's getting a sequel, I'm excited for the sequel, man. I wish I saw this in the theaters to get that real like surround sound, big screen vibe, anxiety feeling on the edge of my seat. So I'm excited for the second one because the continuation on this story, because of the way it ends, I mean, it's pretty predictable. Like, that's like, come on, man, that's not going to happen. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So let me know what you guys thought of it. If you guys have seen it, did you love it? Did you hate it? Smash it down there. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.